Hi, this is Jackie's Reading Room, and I'm your host, Jackie P. Have you turned some pages today? In episode 6, I talked about books adapted to the big or small screen. As a film buff and a book lover, I've always enjoyed watching actors play the role of some beloved characters. Some of the titles I spoke about in other episodes have been adapted into successful series or films, like, for example, Heartstopper, the graphic novel series by Alice Oseman. I mentioned that series in episode 4, and I believe it came back as well in other episodes. And many of Agatha Christie's novels have also been made into films, as you are well aware. And if you want to know more about Miss Christie's work, she is part of episode 25. In fact, it seems that, and I quote, films based on books make up 70% of the top 20 grossing films worldwide. And this is from wordsrated.com. I was actually quite impressed with that statistic. I knew that many films or series were inspired by books or plays and so on, but I didn't know it was that much. So it's actually quite impressive. Just to give you an idea, here I'm on the article that I will put in the summary for this episode. It says that in the 4 weeks that followed the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie, its book sales more than tripled over the previous 4 weeks, with 956,700 units sold. That's a lot of books, that's for sure. And that's just the one, right, of one film. So imagine with all the films and all the books. Something else that I thought was interesting is that between 2007 and 2016, films adapted from books grossed $22.5 billion globally. That's a lot of money. And there was a study made, which I think is fascinating, from 1968 to 2002, quite a long study. And it showed that books provided 35% of the source material of English language movies. So that's quite interesting. And most of that comes from novels, and then a little bit from other sources like plays, comics, and only 2% from nonfiction. So mostly it comes from fiction, I guess I would say. So in preparation for this episode, I decided to start by asking my oldest daughter, who is 16, about her impressions of the 2019 novel Daisy Jones and the Six that I have just here next to me, and the 2023 Prime series of the same name. I personally just started watching the series without having read the book. I know in actually the other episode where I talked about adaptations, I said that I usually like to read first and watch later, but sometimes, there are so many books to read, so many things to watch that I can't do that. Anyway, so my daughter has read the book and she's seen the full series, so she was the perfect candidate for me to ask this. So the novel was written by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who is known for her famous, I would say, book talk book, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, that I actually enjoyed a lot. So my daughter said about Daisy Jones, the novel that, so the novel is built in the form of interviews, right, with this fictional band from the 70s, and the series does that as well. Of course, what's nice is with the series, you have the visuals of that. So my daughter enjoyed this. She said that the actual original cover for the novel, there's the face of a woman, and that woman looks like Riley Keough, who plays the role of Daisy. So she thought that was nice. She thought, though, that the novel was a bit long, and what she did is towards the end, she actually listened to the audiobook version of Daisy Jones, And I think that's a great format for that because of the interview format. So she said she liked that. She preferred the series. She said that the actors were a great fit. So, for example, actor Sam Claflin, who plays the role of Billy Dunn, is really good. I love him very much. You may recognize his name from the Hunger Games films, which ironically is also a series that started in book format and was adapted into some great films. In Daisy Jones, so because it's a band, there are songs, and at the end of the novel you have the lyrics of some of those fictional songs. But what's nice, of course, is that in the series you get to listen to the songs, and there's even an album that came out from the fictional band Daisy Jones and the Six, and my daughter says that it feels like it's a real band. So I thought that was very cool. And one of her favorite characters is the character of Karen, and the actress who plays her. So I thought it was great to get her vibe on that. I will definitely finish watching the series because it's really good. And yes, sometimes I read afterwards, so I will do that. Other I guess material that was adapted into a TV or film that I mentioned before in episode 40, I talked about The Normal Heart, right? This 1985 play by Larry Kramer about the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, and it's an important story. Because I was a teenager in the 80s, and I believe I mentioned that, and so the fight of the especially of the gay community at the time to have treatment for AIDS resonates with me a lot, and it was made into a very, very good film with Matt Bomer and Mark, I forget. Mark Ruffalo. Yes, thank you. Another title that I'd like to mention that I read actually fairly recently, it's a novel from 2017 by Sarah Pinborough, and it's entitled Behind Her Eyes. I may have mentioned this before, but the story of Behind Her Eyes it's kind of a love triangle. So there's this single woman. She's actually a single mom, and she starts having an affair with her new boss. But at the same time, she also befriends the wife, so the boss's wife. Anyway, I'm not going to say too much because this is the kind of book where you can't really talk about the whole premise because you would spoil it. So in this case, you definitely have to read first and then watch, so that you are very surprised. At the end of the book, it's very surprising. And there are some, I'm going to say drastic consequences to this whole affair. And it was made into a Netflix series, a mini-series, I guess I should call it, in 2021. And it was very well made. And once again, I don't want to spoil it. Definitely pick up the book first and then watch the series. And you'll find out that because while I was reading, I knew there was a series, and I thought, I was intrigued as to how they were going to put it on the screen, and that's always fascinated me. So this is one recommendation, and one of my favorites, and I'm sure out of all the episodes I've recorded so far, I'm sure this title has come up. It's the novel Room, that was written in 2010 by Emma Donoghue. She is an Irish-Canadian writer. And Room follows the story of Ma and her son Jack, who's 5. Now, in 2010, my daughter was about that age, about 5. So maybe I read it in 2011, 2012. My daughter was about that age, was about 5, and she so nailed it, the 5-year-old mind. And it's actually narrated, the novel is narrated through the voice of Jack, who's 5. So to me, I really connected with that novel. It's a heartbreaking story, and I won't tell you too much about it because you would have to read it first. Very, very beautifully written. And it was made into a 2015 film, and it was actually written by the author herself. And I believe that she won the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. So you could check that out, but I believe she did. I've always found it fascinating. Imagine being a writer adapting your own novel to the screen. I think that would be quite interesting to do, and to see your characters come alive, right, as well. That would be something else. And the actress who plays Ma is Brie Larson, and the young boy Jack is played by Jacob Tremblay, and they both do a phenomenal job as mother and son. It's really a beautiful story. I definitely encourage it. You could read and watch. You could watch, not read. You could watch and then read. It's really up to you. I guess it depends on everybody's personality. Some people prefer to watch than read, but definitely, I hope that as you are listening to my episodes, I certainly hope that it's inspiring you to turn some more pages, but you have to go with what you like, right? So if your thing is science fiction, if your thing is fantasy, if you prefer to read nonfiction, then by all means do that. Start small, and go to your library and even ask for help, or go back to some of my previous episodes to get some inspiration. Until next time, take good care of yourselves.